dumbass looking. Oh my God, there's so many douchebag actors out there. Holy shit. And there's one on TV right now, and he's annoying as hell. He's got this dumbass looking blue suit on. He thinks it's all sharp looking, and he's got these goofy ass looking blue shoes. And he looks like a freaking idiot. And he appears to be in his late 20s, early 30s, so he's probably got this monumental ego for some reason I have no idea. Okay, yeah, you're famous. Who gives a shit, really? I mean, who really gives a shit? I mean, this guy is not like an A-list actor, and I have no respect for any A-list actors anyway. I mean, they fucking pretend for a living. I mean, am I missing something there? They pretend, and they know how to memorize a whole bunch of words, and they can change their facial expressions as needed. And that's it. Is there something I'm leaving out? I didn't think so. Yeah, they've got a lot of money. Yeah, a lot of people know them. But does that give them a reason to have the giant ego that they have? I mean, outside of the part they play in a movie, that's as far as my desire goes for any knowledge of any famous person whatsoever. I could really give a shit less. I know there's a lot of people that eat up all that gossip bullshit and that Hollywood garbage and all those magazines and TV shows and all that shit. Who the fuck really cares? I mean, is that really what you were put on the planet for? Do you really think that you were born to follow the lives of people whose lives also don't really matter? Hell no. I mean, okay, time is precious. Life is something I think that happens over and over, maybe not in the same place. I don't think it does occur in the same place. I'm not going to get into that. I'm really trying hard not to get into that. But your life right now in the present day, from the time you're born to the time you die, is a very precious thing. It's something that you're, in all likelihood, only going to get to live through once. So all of this cool stuff that we have, this cool year of 2016, and the years prior that you have lived through and the years you will live through, all of that is only going to be lived through once. So why in the hell would you waste even minutes listening to the bullshit garbage that actors want to talk about on TV, and especially in interviews? They never have anything to talk about. I mean, really honestly listen to what they say. I mean, really sit down and listen. Take it all in, all right? I know it's a colossal waste of time, and I'm definitely contradicting myself by saying this, but maybe don't give them an hour or anything like that. Maybe give them like 10 minutes and see, and then that will be more than enough time for my point to be proven. They really talk about fucking nothing. They have nothing truly interesting to say. They never really have anything that's meaningful or anything that is worth listening to, all right? And yeah, there's some actors like Leonardo DiCaprio, for instance. He likes to talk about global warming and we need to save the planet and this and that. But yeah, well, tell us something we don't already fucking know. Of course we fucking know that. Oh yeah, we had to shoot this movie down at the bottom of South America because we couldn't find snow anywhere. Well, no shit, Sherlock, because it was fucking summertime here. No shit you had to go to the south, the southern hemisphere because it's fucking wintertime down there. I mean, that's a little obvious. I mean, I don't know. And actors aren't even all that good at convincing that being outside of the movie, rather. So, I mean, I'm talking about giving speeches, interviews, things like that. I mean, they're almost mindless. They just sit there and they talk about just stupid shit, like who they have so much respect for and how much fun they had working with these people and what vacation they just came back from and how magical of a person that this other stupid ass actor or actress is and how wonderful it is for them to know them and all this fucking shit. I mean, you really got to listen to the words, and I'm not an expert on it. I've not spent countless hours listening to celebrities talking, but I've heard my fair share, and my fair share is probably a lot less than others, but I'm telling you, I've never heard something that was truly like that. I've never listened to an actor in an interview or anything outside of a movie, and by the end of by the time that I was done listening to them, not once had I ever sat there and been like, wow, I was glad I watched that. That was really informative, or that was actually pretty entertaining, or wow, this guy's got some good points. No, not once. Not even once. Not one time. And I know there's actors out there that have incredibly high IQs, 170s, 180s, and things like that. I can't remember that one guy. There's this one guy, and I can see his face right now. He's usually the bad guy. He's usually kind of like a weasel in his movies. I think he plays a doctor in a couple of movies. He's got that smug look on his face. Like he's got like that punchy face, like the face that you just want to punch. And that's just how he looks all the time. And I think like he developed that look through the movies that he had played in, because he's always been that asshole character. I can't remember, but they've always kind of associated him with like a smart guy role, like a doctor, lawyer, like that kind of part. But so yeah, I don't remember. Oh hell, I can't remember what the hell that guy's name was, but there's that other guy, James Franco. So yeah, a guy who claims that he has a high IQ. At least that's what I've heard from other sources. But just like everybody else, I've not heard one truly intelligent thing that the guy's ever said, ever. I mean, does he just have that IQ and he just never applies it to anything? I'm not sure, but I've never heard him say anything intelligent. I mean, I've seen him do interviews. I mean, yes, I have. Not very many, like maybe 2 or 3, but again, whenever I listen to an interview, I rarely sit there for longer than just a few minutes. Like I sit there just for long enough to see if they're worth listening to or not. And to this date, I've actually not ever seen one that's actually been worth sitting down and listening to. Now, comedians can be a little different, but yes, there's comedians and there's actors. Like they can play both parts, and some people actually do it really well. So I guess depending on the person, they might be a little entertaining to listen to. Like they might be kind of funny in interviews because they're comedians, but just because they make me laugh doesn't mean that what they're saying is intelligent in nature, or something that is truly worth listening to. I mean, I'm not going to get anything out of it. When I watch this, even if I laugh my ass off like 3 or 4 times, am I going to repeat what he had said in the interview? Well, no, because probably by the end of the day, I'm not going to remember what the hell I was laughing about. All I remember is I was laughing at so-and-so's remarks in an interview. And it's not because I don't have a good memory. I actually, whenever I feel like applying it, I actually have a pretty good memory. It's just I'm kind of selective with what I want to retain, because I'm not getting any younger. So what I put up in my brain, I really need to save the space for things that are more important than stupid ass interviews with comedians saying funny ass jokes that really aren't going to be funny in a short amount of time anyway. But yeah, so I don't know. I just thought I had to get that off my chest. And actors and actresses are actually no different, really, than like TV show hosts. Well, I should have said that the other way around. TV show hosts or TV hosts are no different than the other mindless celebrities that I was just talking about. Okay, so they probably read the teleprompter most of all, especially the daytime TV shows. Those daytime talk TV shows like freaking like Kelly and blank. I don't know who the hell is going in there. Apparently there's no extra person to replace what's his name, Michael. Wendy Williams, that show sucks also. What is that? That Dish Nation. That show sucks. I'm trying to think of other ones. Oh hell, I'm trying to think. There's a whole bunch of these stupid ass talk shows. Ellen DeGeneres. That show sucks in my opinion. I don't know if Rosie O'Donnell's still on, but if it is, then that show definitely sucks. Um, Oprah Winfrey. I'll leave that one alone because she's been on for a hell of a long time. So I have respect for Oprah Winfrey, so I won't touch that one. Um, but yeah, everybody else pretty much sucks, more or less. Now, Maury and Jerry Springer, yeah, those shows are obviously completely staged. I think Jerry Springer is deliberately trying to convince us that his show is staged, and he's been doing that for like a decade now. Actually, probably more like 2 decades now. So, yeah, I mean, and Maury we're pretty much at that level too with Maury. I mean, that show is already freaking stupid also, but all of those shows, all the ones that involve talking, communicating, discussing things, interviewing people, all that stuff, it's just all bullshit. There's nothing that has any real point to it. I mean, at the end of the show, what do you really get out of it? Like, how does that really benefit you? The hour that you wasted in front of the TV watching Wendy Williams, for instance, what exactly are you going to take away from that will help make you a wiser person or even a better person for that matter? I mean, all they talk about is who's dating who's getting fired from where, and which actor or which celebrity's coming out with which movie, and I'm sure they talk about the news and all that shit too. Now, yes, I've watched a Wendy Williams show. I've actually watched a few of them. Um, Same goes with Kelly and Michael. I've seen quite a few of those, and I've seen Ellen DeGeneres. I don't know what her show is now. I mean, I watched it a long time ago. Of course, I watched Maury and Jerry Springer. I've probably watched like 100 of each of them. Actually, Maury, I probably watched a lot more than that. Back from like the year probably 2003 until the year 2005. I don't think I missed an episode. Um, so yeah, so I've watched talk show TV, and it's pretty much all the same. They interview people, they talk about current events and what's going on in the world, except they give their own take on it, which I don't really give their take any value whatsoever because first of all, they're not experts in what they're talking about at all. It's all opinion based, and it's not even good opinion because whatever it is that they talk about, it's not. They really don't have any experience with it. Either they're reading off of a teleprompter that somebody else wrote, or they are actually giving their own opinion, which is probably a lot worse of the two options between that and having somebody else write it for you. I mean, even take a show like John Oliver, right? The show is hilarious. I mean, I think that show is brilliant. I mean, his writing staff has to be a freaking army in size. I mean, just the stuff that they come up with on that show, and how detailed they get, and how much information in a certain topic that they talk about, and they do all of this. I'm sure it takes longer than a week in most cases, but the show is usually on every week. But yeah, the amount of stuff that they present on the show is astounding. But it's not John Oliver doing it. In fact, he probably does none of it. He probably just shows up to work an hour before it starts. He probably practices the prompter for a good little while. They start the show. He reads like a mindless drone, and then show's over. He goes and does his own thing and whatever. He probably puts in like maybe 4 hours worth a week, 4 hours worth of work every week, and that's it. Pretty much as far as it goes for him. And he still makes like $2 million a year or something crazy like that. But with all that being said, I really still like that show, John Oliver. I probably don't like John Oliver as a person, but I've never seen him interviewed by somebody. I've never seen him out of the context of his show. So I really honestly can't really form a solid opinion on him. I'm just giving out assumptions that, you know what, he's probably not as smart, brilliant, and funny as he is on his show because it's all prompter stuff. But I'm telling you what, if he's half the person that he is on his show, then yeah, he's goddamn brilliant. That guy's freaking hilarious, amazing. It's an awesome, amazing show. Probably one of my favorites right now. Especially a current event show. I think nothing comes close to it today. And the 4.4 million viewership base, just measurable viewership base, really can vouch for that. And I'm talking about measurable in terms of on TV, on demand, on Netflix, HBO. I'm not talking about YouTube and torrent websites and other media websites where it might temporarily go up. Yeah, they don't count all of that. So, yeah, but news shows, that really doesn't matter because the anchors that are on news shows, they don't really go off and be interviewed on TV. Like, you don't really get to know them as a person. I mean, their role is just kind of a given. They report the news, and that's really all people care about. People really don't idolize anchors, news anchors. People really should idolize like journalists, and I'm not sure about reporters. Reporters can get really annoying, because they go out and they try to find the story at all costs, and it pisses a lot of people off, and they show up at people's houses after a tragedy occurs, and they do a lot of harassing. And I know it's to keep the system in check, right? That's freedom of the press. It's not there just to annoy the hell out of everybody. It's actually there for a really valid reason. It's there to help keep not only society in check, but also the government in check as well. If there was no freedom of the press, and if we didn't have that section of the First Amendment that gives the news agencies the right to go in and pressure Congress and pressure the government for stories and information. I mean, if that wasn't there, then God knows how corrupt our government would be. It would be absolutely incredibly corrupt. Because there'd be no oversight. There would be no entity reporting on what's going on. I mean, it would be nearly impossible for the American people to know what the government's up to, actually. I mean, we've got the press all over their asses everywhere. Constantly we're hearing stuff. I mean, they've got entire TV they have several TV channels dedicated to just government activity alone that's reported by the media. And they still seem to be secretive as hell. I mean, a lot of people, probably the majority of people, think that our government is hiding more information from us than what they are deciding to share with us. And I kind of tend to agree with that. Well, I don't know, maybe not, because I know there's the Freedom of Information Act, which, like it really did a whole hell of a lot. Yeah, it helped a lot, but like, it doesn't really make everything accessible. And I'll give an example. There is an individual, I won't give out his name. He is an investigative reporter, I guess you could call him, and also not a novelist, but a nonfiction writer, and he's written some incredible books. So he goes to the he goes to the national, what is that? The National Park Service. I'm trying to think of, like, the Department of the Interior. I think it's the National Park Service. I think that's their official title, but he goes to them because he's looking for information on people who have disappeared in national parks, and they're never found, and there's no evidence or anything. And so they go to the National Park Service and they request the information, and they say, no, that's classified information. We can't give that to you. So he says, all right. So he comes back, a week later or however long later, and he comes with the Freedom of Information Act request. And of course that means, your organization, your department is a government entity. Everything that you keep on file is subject to public record. So he goes with the Freedom of Information Act request, and of course they have to oblige, and they do. But the only catch is that for a file that's like maybe 20 pages thick, they want to charge them like $500 for it, an astronomical amount of money. So even though the records are technically attainable, there's no really set regulation on how much they charge for said records. And when he finally gets said records, he opens it up, and it's been blackened out all over the place. You know those top quote top secret documents that have been declassified, and they show the letter, and like more than half of it has like this Sharpie marker style line going right through the text. I mean, he opens this thing up and it's full of that crap. So really, the only thing that he paid $500 for is a series of thes and ands and tos and a's, like those stupid filler words that really don't tell you shit. So, but at least we have the ability to do a Freedom of Information Act. But what I was meaning by that was that, even though that it's out there and you can get anything that's public record, and you can, within reason, I mean, you can't go into the CIA and say, give me all your files because it's Freedom of Information Act and I got $1 billion, so I don't care how much you charge me. I mean, it doesn't work that way, but Freedom of Information Act gives you easier access to documents, which is pretty sweet. But I think it still has a lot of work left, especially on how much they charge for it. But yeah. So anyway, what I'm getting back to, people who are famous, and most of the time, I mean, I'm not just talking about celebrities. Most of the time, I'm also talking, like Hollywood celebrities, actors, actresses, TV personalities, all that shit. I'm also talking about politicians. That's another one. Pretty much anybody that you could put into the category of being famous. I mean, chances are, whatever it is that they talk about, it's not really going to benefit you at all. So why waste the time and watch them? Why listen to them? Why read about them? I mean, you're filling your head up with nonsense. Instead of doing that, you could actually maybe do something a little more, or read something a little more productive, or listen to something more productive. I mean, listen to an audiobook, right? Now, I guess that if you did listen to an audiobook, I guess if I had to stick to my thinking here, you should listen to a non-fiction book versus a fiction book, because a fiction book is just a story. I mean, it's not even real. But there's also nothing wrong with that, though, because you can watch movies and they kind of have the same premise too. So, and I enjoy watching movies. I really like watching movies based on true stories or not based on true stories. I'm actually skeptical that most movies they say that were based on a true story are actually based on a true story. I mean, that term can be very, very, very loosely based. I mean, they could say this movie's based on a true story just because in this quote-unquote true story, somebody was killed, and that's it. I mean, the whole rest of the movie can be imagined and put together in a completely different fashion, except they can say that this was based on a true story because in this story, they're claiming that it's based on there was a person that was murdered. Okay, so I don't know. I just think that it's, whenever I see based on a true story, I kind of take that with a grain of salt. But, I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this because I'm really tired, and it probably doesn't seem that way because I'm talking fast, and I actually, at least to me, I seem like I'm making sense, but I just had to say that. I was watching this interview. I can't say the guy's name, first of all, because I can't remember his name, but I've seen him in movies before. And he's just, I mean, he was so fucking annoying looking. He had this dumb douchey looking haircut, and actors have the dumbest looking haircuts. I know they try to stay on the edge and look trendy, and maybe people will follow their hairstyle and all that crap, but oh wow, his sucked. I mean, he had his hair shortly buzzed on the sides, and then he had this like weird, almost Conan O'Brien looking hairdo on top, like his hair was a little too long in comparison with how short his hair was on the side. Like he used a size 1 buzz cut like on the side of his head, and he didn't even fade it or anything. It just abruptly stops like halfway up his head, and then he's got this goofy like combed up hairdo that looks ridiculous. and then he's wearing this dumbass looking suit. I mean, I don't know. It just really annoyed me. And like for maybe 2 minutes, I listened to what they were talking about, and he was just talking about this movie that he was just in and how much fun he had doing it. It's the same exact interview that everybody else gives on these dumb shows whenever they're talking about a movie. It's always the same thing about how much fun they had and the locations that they filmed at and the people that they worked with and how amazing that was and they use, it's so funny. It's almost like they have a book just for words to describe other people, because it's so funny, because like they'll usually put like two words together, or even they'll use one word. They'll say like, oh, they're such an inspiring person, and they just dazzle me every time I see them, and they're just such a magical person, such a pure and wonderful soul, and the most amazing personality. I don't think in the rest of my life I could ever imagine working with such a pure spirit and such an intelligent person. Like, what the fuck, man? What the hell are you saying? Who the fuck gives a shit? You really think that this person is magical and dazzling and intelligent and wonderful and all that shit? And I'm not exaggerating either. There's a lot of actors that say that bullshit. I mean, it's almost as if they're like insulting the other person, because they're so overly exaggerating this person that it's almost painful to watch. And I'm serious. If you watch these interviews, especially when they talk about a movie they were in, and during the interview they ask them a question about somebody that was also in the movie, I swear they will always do that. They'll use these weird words. I mean, they're good words. I mean, they use these words because they sound intelligent, and and for some unknown reason, the person that they're talking about, they put up on this monumental pedestal for some reason. And it just, I don't know, it's just hilarious. Like, and some of the actors that they refer this to, like the whole magical personality and the near infinite wisdom and all of this crap that they're saying, they're describing like Tom Cruise or Jack Nicholson or like Julia Roberts, or, you know, just these actors that, in all honesty, are probably not good people anyway. And they're probably not all that intelligent either. And it's just so funny, like when they use all these words, like how they try to illustrate this person as being the greatest person that they've ever been in contact with. And I'm just thinking, are you fucking serious? Are you really seriously doing this right now? I just don't get it. I mean, they're people. They're regular. Well, they're not regular people. They're celebrities. So, I mean, you know, so I, for not even one day, would want to walk in their shoes. I mean, why the hell would I want to be really famous and be stuck not being able to do anything? I'd have to live like a fucking hermit. And if I wanted to go out, the only places I could go are these ultra exclusive places that I'm going to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to visit. I mean, you got to turn it into this huge charade almost. And even these upscale places you go to, you're going to have to mingle with all these rich assholes who are like, oh, wow, you're that one guy. Or if you're lucky, I guess, you're famous enough, and they'll say, wow, you're John Smith. Yeah, I know who you are. Man, that's awesome. I mean, no matter where you go, even if you go to some exclusive place where only the top wealthy elite go to, you're still going to get fucked around with by bullshit. It's going to be probably like the wives of the elite, or the husbands of the elite, or their kids and all that shit, and whoever else is there. I mean, no, being famous would really fucking suck. You'd have to put on that fake smile all the time, and you know, I mean, I couldn't do it. I like going to the grocery store. I like going to the gas station. I like being out in public. I'm an outgoing person, and becoming famous, I think, would take a lot of that away. I mean, when was the last time somebody like Jack Nicholson was grocery shopping in like Publix or whatever grocery store they have out where he lives? I mean, probably never. Probably At least not in probably 40 years, probably. And I just think that would suck. You can't even go grocery shopping on your own. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's funny. And they're not, yeah, they act, they do their whole pretend for a living thing. But it's not like what they're doing is crucially important to society or anything. I'm sure they think that way. Oh, God only knows how huge their freaking egos are. I mean, if their ego was a physical, measurable thing, it would probably outweigh the volume of the entire fucking universe. Let alone combining egos together. Holy shit. I mean, I can only imagine. But yeah, I don't know, but that's the world we live in. That's what America's come to. We don't idolize people that we should be, such as brilliant inventors and innovators and computer scientists, for instance. I mean, people, a really good one, like astronomers and physicists and other scientists and people who make truly wonderful discoveries. People that work their asses off for years, just using the hell out of their brain so they can figure out just one little extra piece of information that will help move us a little more forward. I mean, yeah, the people that make discoveries like that, their name is more or less immortalized in a journal or a book or a plaque or a statue or something like that. But a lot of people, I mean, nobody's going to remember 150 or 200 years from now who discovered the first planet outside of our solar system. I mean, most people, including myself actually, don't even know who the hell discovered Pluto or Neptune or Uranus or Saturn. Actually Saturn, like Jupiter and Saturn, I'm sure they've been long since discovered, because you can also see Saturn with the naked eye. Of course, you can see Jupiter with the naked eye, but there's people out there that not only are they just looking through a telescope, not just those people, but people that are like the person who invented GPS. I mean, isn't that a freaking amazing invention? I mean, holy shit. Or the person. I guess that would be an easy one. I was going to say the person who invented the Richter scale or the Richter thing. I'm sure it was, Alan Richter or whoever. But like people who invented like the Doppler radar. The Doppler radar is awesome. The person who invented the World Wide Web. I mean, that guy's still around. I don't think he's especially old, really. I mean, and it goes on and on and on. I mean, all kinds of shit. I mean, there's so many things out there that we have and we take for granted, and we have no idea who even provided that for us. The person who invented these things. So, I mean, those are the people we should be looking up to. I mean, I guess I would recommend the ones who are living, because the ones who are dead is, I mean, it's kind of hard to have a role model who's dead, who long ago died, like Da Vinci and Einstein and Mozart, Beethoven, and, a whole slew of other people, Plato, and so I don't know. But anyway, that's the way our world is, though, unfortunately. We put up these dumbass celebrities up on this huge high pedestal, and people just, they don't think about it, or they just choose not to think about it. But whenever you hear celebrities talk, I mean, their true person comes out, especially in an interview, because they probably didn't, unless it's a really important interview, they probably didn't do a whole lot of practicing for it. Like if they're just appearing on like Conan O'Brien or something to be in an interview for like 10, 15 minutes. I mean, I doubt that they rehearse in front of a mirror over and over and over again to make sure they get it absolutely right. I mean, they probably go out there and they're being themselves. And yeah, I think through interviews, if you truly listen to the subject matter, yeah, they'll sound I mean, like they'll have a nice way with their words. Their sentences will flow well. I mean, yeah, there's no question that they're good at speaking. I mean, hell, they're actors and actresses. Of course they're good at speaking. I mean, they're experts at pretending to be people they're actually not. So, I mean, that's not what I'm questioning at all. What I'm questioning is what they talk about, not how they talk. So, yeah, next time you watch a show where they interview a celebrity, I mean, seriously, it honestly doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter who. One person that I could possibly exclude from that list might be Morgan Freeman, but I've only watched like maybe one interview with him in it. And I honestly couldn't tell you exactly what it was they were talking about. I assume he probably doesn't interview incredibly often. So most of the time, I'm sure the person who is doing the interviewing is probably asking like these personal gossip, shitty questions that people for some stupid ass reason feel they need to know. It just cracks me up. Only in America. Only in a first world country. I mean, are there other... Oh, yeah, there are. There's got to be. People in other countries who are also idolizing all these well, quote-unquote musicians today. I would hardly call them musicians. And actors and all that stuff. Yeah, of course there are. But I don't even want to get started on music. I really don't want to get started on that. That's going to open up a whole nother can of worms. I mean, as terrible as the music industry's gone, I mean, it's almost like the United States has single-handedly destroyed modern music. But yet also, in the past, helped innovate it as well with a lot of really amazing music, like classic rock and jazz and a whole bunch of other stuff that we've come up with. And so, yeah, we've pioneered a lot of amazing music, and we've churned out lots of amazing musicians. But these days, with this pop that they have now, I mean, there's no more guitar solos anymore. People rarely branch out and use additional instruments in any of their songs. And in fact, when it comes to pop music, just about everything is electronically based now. Now, I would say that would be a good thing because I am actually a fan of electronic dance music, but this isn't that kind of style. It's like they're trying to throw this borderline rap shit in with electronic music, and I don't know. I mean, it's amazing how famous some of these people are and how shitty their music actually is. And you really, if you take one full day, all right, there's a lot of people who sit at the desk all day and they work and they can listen to music while they're working. Well, what you should do, you should go and look up, let's see, you should look up open source music. Or you could look up like like something with the search term free in it, like not really free music because it's going to direct you to mainstream music probably, but I would look up like open source music and Creative Commons music, PodSafe music. That's another good term to look up. And these songs are songs that you can use and you won't get sued for it. So if you have an online radio show and you just want some music on your show, and you have a popular podcast, you don't have to worry about getting sued. Or if you're streaming on YouTube, like YouTube Live, if you're playing anything mainstream, anything that's copyrighted, YouTube is going to take down your feed within minutes. I heard lately it's within a minute, but so yeah, if you get these PodSafe songs and these open source songs, then you can play those, and you don't have to worry about any copyright infringement or anything. I mean, I'm sure all they ask is that you mention the artist's name. But you would be really surprised with all of the good music they have on those websites. Yes, some of them are not good because I don't think that they approve any music that goes on there. I think that if you create a song, no matter how shitty it is, you can upload it to that site and it's there. So, but But yeah, I really encourage you, if you think that really truly good music is long gone, I'm telling you that's not true. And I have listened to countless hours of that style of music because I used to have a podcast and we had many episodes and I played lots of songs. I think the amount of songs that I decided to save was somewhere around like 300 or 400 songs that came from these open source PodSafe websites. And the music was free. You could download all you want. And it just blew my mind how many good songs there still are out there. And I'm talking about pretty much every genre that you can think of. So it's just so funny when you hear music that is truly good, that's really good, that's online, and they're giving it away for free. And these people aren't making anything off of their music, yet there are these immensely popular musicians. I really don't like using the word musician, but I would rather use that than the word artist, because they're hardly an artist. But these really famous people who release the music that's out there today, I mean, that shit is so much worse than a lot of the stuff you'll find online. I'm telling you, it is absolutely true. And where do you point the finger? Who really destroyed the music industry? I mean, I think the record companies had a lot to do with it, but I mean, we really have we have ourselves to blame too, because the music gets shittier and shittier, but people still listen to the hell out of it. It doesn't matter how shitty the music gets. People will still listen. They'll still listen to it in vast numbers too. I mean, there's several videos on YouTube that are approaching or have surpassed 1 billion views, 1,000 million views, and the music sucks. It's not good. I mean, what the fuck? It drives me crazy. I mean, the music is extremely repetitive. The lyrics are not even that clever. And yeah, okay, so in some of the songs, the person is a really good singer. Well, who the hell cares? I mean, singers are a dime a dozen. I mean, that's true. I mean, I could prove that by just naming off a couple of shows like The Voice and American Idol and The X Factor, and I'm sure there's many more that I'm not even thinking of, but I mean, just those 3 shows alone proves that good singers are a dime a dozen. I mean, there are thousands of them out there, and all of them are just as good as any of the famous singers out there. So, and actually pretty much all of these famous singers, with the exception of a couple like Kelly Clarkson and whoever else, pretty much all of these singers didn't have to compete against 100 other singers, or actually more like thousands of other singers. They didn't have to compete to get famous. What they did was that they sang. They were good at singing, and they put together a couple of songs, and honestly, they just got lucky as hell because the right person listened to that song, and it was at the right time, and that person must have just happened to have been looking for somebody to either add to their label or somebody for them to promote or work with or something. But, I mean, that's really how most people get famous, right? Well, at least musicians. So, yeah, but I don't know. I just think it's really funny. I mean, I've heard a shitload of good singers, and yeah, and none of them are really famous like a lot of famous musicians are today, but wow. And I guess we got the kids to blame because they really don't know what good music is because they had to suffer and listen to music from the 2000s. I mean, kids, like a kid who was born in the year 2000, this year will be 16 years old. They're kind of at the prime of developing their music tastes, and they've probably been listening to music on their own since they were, I don't know, like what's a good age to start? Like 9 or 10, something like that. That's a pretty good starting point, in my opinion, as far as kids branching out and trying to develop their own taste for music. And so these kids, they've been listening to music that has been out since after the 90s, and I don't know, it's like as soon as the millennium turned into the year 2000, music just sucked bad. And I'm not really saying that the 90s music was absolutely amazing, because there were a lot of elements to the 90s music that also made it shitty. But the 90s had a lot of good music though too. Especially with that like that old school gangster rap or hip hop. Even a lot of alternative music was pretty good too. And so yeah, but there was also a lot of bad music too. But yeah, in the 2000s decade, there wasn't really much, and honestly, nothing right now is coming to mind. And I was 16 years old when the year 2000 came, so I have been old enough to remember the entire decade of the 2000s. So, and honestly, when I'm trying to think of something really good, nothing really truly comes to mind. And certainly this decade. I mean, absolutely nothing I can think of this decade was any good. Um, I mean, there's like a couple, I guess, that come to mind that I'm not going to name off, but there's a couple that are okay. But they're good as in like catchy. It's a song you could get stuck in your head, but I wouldn't say I loved it. I mean, I wouldn't miss the song if it suddenly disappeared or anything. But anyway, all right. I got to get off here. I got to be done. Good grief, I'm wasting tons of time right now. All right. Peace.